So when people talk about Trump derangement syndrome as like a thing liberals have, what they're usually describing is a generation of people raised with the common knowledge that Donald Trump is a bad man who should not be trusted. And then that generation watched their friends and family happily elect him, either as a welcome destructive force or as a guy they liked and agreed with. It's like, you know that Mitchell and Webb sketch that became a meme where the obvious Nazi bad guy with a skull on his hat is all like, "Are we the baddies?" Look it up, it's a great bit. And it keeps coming up for a reason. Because, well, sure, Hollywood is left-leaning, but it wasn't always that way. And since they ultimately just love money, the stories they've told are very basic morality tales. Nazis are bad, a wolf in sheep's clothing, sleds, good versus evil, man versus wild, detective and genetically enhanced talking dinosaur versus mad scientist, and so on. And in these morality tales, the villains are very often authoritarian, anger-driven, spiteful, petty, rude, dim-witted, dishonest, the obviously greedy people in power. The lowest of hanging fruit for writers to quickly convey that a person or persons is bad, to be defeated, which, as I already pointed out too many times by now, was quite often literally just a version of Donald Trump. Obvious grifter, our living Banksy painting of a president. It's not complicated unless you make it. So, how do the people defending Trump not get that? How do they not have a Mitchell and Webb moment where they look at all of the obvious signs and face the fact that they just might be the baddies? They do it one of two fun ways. The first is to label these very basic morality tales as propaganda from the left. Sesame Street, for example, has been around for 50 years, and in all that time has taught kids very basic morality. One of which being diversity and civil rights. The sets are literally based off of Harlem, and the show conceived to have a multicultural cast. And for most of that 50 years, we just accepted that as nonpartisan values. Barbara Bush would show up to read stories, as did her daughter-in-law, as did her war criminal husband. But now, this is apparently dangerous propaganda, according to one very smart boy. And you gotta think what these goons would be tweeting out back when Mr. Rogers used his show to take a stand against segregated pools. What a dark world they must live in when Big Bird is seen as the political enemy. It must be isolating for someone like Ted Cruz, supporter of the sex pest president and hater of masked vigilantes who do property damage and combat the police, to suddenly feel betrayed by The Princess Bride, a movie that was always about a sex pest leader taken down by a masked vigilante. Like, where does he think he fits in with that story? It's enough to make a person kind of resentful. Libs owned popular culture. And so they really want to own the libs. Trump's good to a lot of them because of spite. He's payback. The other and more hilarious method of denial of what art is about is to either pretend to or actually misunderstand what these films are trying to say, and then insist that these films and stories are actually about the things they dislike.
The story, I'm not gonna bury the lead on this one because I think it's hilarious. Unmarked vehicles pull up, feds jump out, and then walk up to Antifa and just snatch him up. Gone. And you know what? I mean, it's funny to think because I'm thinking about like when I was a kid, watching, like when I was younger, watching V for Vendetta or any of these movies. You'd imagine that anybody carrying out these governmental black baggings were the bad guys.
That's a good point.
No, not here.
Oh yeah, do it, Tim. See, the trick is simple if you're stupid. You simply look at the villain of a movie, blank out literally everything that comes out of their mouth, and then conclude that they are exactly like whatever type of person you don't like in real life.
The example I always give on this is that you watch the Avengers, right? The Avengers movies, you watch some of them. So, Thanos basically was Bernie. Thanos was a socialist. He thought, all right, there's finite resources in the universe, but what did he have to do to keep the whole thing going? He was going to have to kill half of the living creatures in the universe. And that's why socialists kill so many people.
I believe that less suffering is better, and that I am willing
to
I will tell you something you won't like to hear, though.
I'm willing to sully myself if that's the outcome.
But I'll tell you something you're not going to want to hear, and I admit it's I'll call it dickish. Utilitarianism is typically the villain in most movies.
I don't care.
Yeah. So for instance, like Thanos was utilitarian, and Captain America was deontological.
I didn't.
So Thanos willing to reduce the suffering by killing hundreds of trillions versus the thousands of trillions which would be living better off. So cite comic book movies.
So a few things here. First of all, Thanos isn't like anyone, not on the left or the right. He's an eco-terrorist with a magic glove that killed half the universe. Eco-socialists have very specific and easily Googleable policies that don't include genocide. And utilitarians believe in making decisions that minimize harm for the greater good, which also isn't genocide. Also,
utilitarianism is typically the villain in most movies.
Wow, yes. All those utilitarian villains in superhero films, such as, with Marvel, the 6 evil businessmen trying to steal technology, several monster gods trying to assimilate the universe, a handful of people trying to get revenge, and one demonic Nazi. Doomsday, Steppenwolf, the god of war Ares, clearly all evil utilitarians, just making decisions off of maximizing good things and limiting bad things, a reduction of harm. That's what I think of when I look at the fucking Riddler. Good fucking God, how do these people watch movies? Is it like a fugue state where every villainous character dissolves into a Ben Garrison drawing of AOC? What Seussian contraptions lead from their sensory cavities to the reasoning part of their rattling hamster brains? Is there some kind of magic wand that will make me forget they ever existed? Wow, what a clip that was from the show. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to this channel as well as our other channel where the full episodes are. It's called Some More News. This is called Some More News Clips, which because you just watched it. Anyway,